Hey there, my friend. Yeah, you, the one sitting there right now with maybe a heavy heart, a cup of coffee going cold, or even a few tears already waiting behind your eyes. I see you. I'm right here with you, walking through this story together, because sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is let someone else's journey remind us that we're not alone. Have you ever been so broken that the idea of happiness felt like a cruel joke? Like the world kept spinning, but you were stuck, frozen in grief, wondering if you'd ever feel warm again? Stick with me until the very last word, because this is the story of a man who thought love had died with his wife, until one blind date made him freeze in the most unexpected way. It's going to hurt a little, laugh a little, and by the end, I promise you'll feel something shift inside you, hope, maybe even courage. Let's begin. Hook. Picture this. It's a rainy Friday evening in a quiet Ohio town, the kind where streetlights blur into golden halos on wet pavement. You're Matthew Carter, 38 years old, standing outside a cozy Italian restaurant called Bella Vista, your heart hammering so hard you can feel it in your throat. Your best friend Jake swore this was just dinner with an old buddy's cousin, nothing serious, definitely not a date. You need to get out, man, Jake had said, clapping you on the back like it was the funniest prank in the world. Noah's with us tonight, go live a little. You laughed it off, called it a joke, even told yourself you'd only stay 20 minutes before texting some excuse. After all, 3 years ago your world ended when Emily's car slid off that icy bridge. One phone call, one police officer at your door, and suddenly you were a single dad to an 8-year-old boy who still asked why mommy wasn't coming home from heaven. You buried your heart with her. Dating? Love? Those words belonged to other people, people whose lives hadn't been ripped in half. So yeah, you showed up tonight mostly to shut Jake up, expecting maybe an awkward meal with some random guy or, at worst, a setup you could politely escape. But then you stepped inside, the smell of garlic and fresh bread wrapping around you like a hug you didn't ask for, and the hostess led you to a corner table by the window. And there she was. Rachel. Sitting there in a soft blue sweater, dark hair falling over one shoulder, smiling at you like she already knew your secrets. Your feet stopped moving. Your breath caught. Time froze. Because in that split second, something inside you cracked open, and you weren't sure if it was terror or the first spark of life you'd felt since Emily left. This, my friend, is where the real story begins. Matthew stood there like a statue, rain still dripping from his coat onto the wooden floor, while Rachel looked up at him with gentle curiosity. Matthew? She asked, her voice soft but steady, like she'd been waiting for him her whole life. He managed a nod, forced his legs to carry him the last few steps, and dropped into the chair opposite her so heavily the silverware rattled. His mind screamed at him to run. This wasn't supposed to happen. This wasn't a joke anymore. This was real, a woman, beautiful and kind-eyed, sitting across from him, and all he could see was Emily's face the morning she left for work, kissing Noah's forehead, telling Matthew she'd be home by 6. 6 o'clock never came. He cleared his throat, trying to sound normal. So. Jake set this up, huh? Rachel smiled, a small, understanding smile that made the corners of her eyes crinkle. Guilty. My cousin Sarah is married to him. They've been plotting for months. Said you were too good a man to stay locked away forever. She tilted her head. But if you want to bolt, I won't be offended. Blind dates are terrifying. Matthew laughed, a rusty, surprised sound he hadn't heard from himself in years. For the first few minutes they talked about safe things, the rain, the restaurant's famous lasagna, how Noah loved building Lego spaceships that took over the living room. But every laugh felt like a betrayal. How could he sit here enjoying himself when Emily's favorite song was playing faintly through the speakers, the same one they danced to at their wedding? His chest tightened. Memories flooded in without warning, the hospital smell the night Noah was born, Emily's tired but radiant smile, the way she used to hum while making pancakes on Sunday mornings, the empty side of the bed that still smelled like her perfume for months after she was gone. Rachel noticed. She always noticed things, he would learn later, she was a nurse in the pediatric ward back in Michigan, the kind who held scared kids' hands during IVs and stayed late to read bedtime stories to the ones who couldn't go home. She reached across the table, not touching him, just resting her fingers near his. "Hey," she said quietly, "you just went somewhere far away. Want to tell me?" And somehow, he did. The words poured out like the rain outside, how he worked 2 jobs to keep the house they bought together, how Noah had started having nightmares again last month, waking up crying for Mom. How Matthew sat on the edge of the boy's bed every night, stroking his hair and whispering, "I'm here, buddy, I've got you," while inside he was drowning. "I promised her I'd take care of him," he said, voice cracking. "But some days I'm so tired I don't know if I'm doing any of it right. And dating, it feels like I'm erasing her. Like if I let someone else in, I'm saying what we had wasn't enough." Tears stung his eyes. He looked down at the bread basket, embarrassed. Any other woman might have changed the subject or offered empty platitudes. Rachel didn't. She leaned in, her own eyes shining. "My husband died 2 years ago," she said simply. "Car accident, same as your wife. I still set a place for him at the table on his birthday. I still talk to him when the house gets too quiet. So I get it, Matthew. I really do. Moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. It means carrying them with you, making room for new love without letting go of the old." The waiter came and went, plates of pasta cooling between them, but neither noticed. For the first time in 3 years, Matthew felt seen. Not pitied. Seen. Yet the fear was still there, a cold knot in his stomach. When Rachel laughed at one of his clumsy jokes about Noah's terrible knock-knock jokes, something warm bloomed in his chest, and immediately he felt guilty. He excused himself to the restroom, splashed water on his face, and stared at his reflection. "What are you doing?" he whispered. "She deserves someone whole. Not this broken version of you." He almost left. Almost texted Jake that he was sick and bolted out the back door. But when he returned to the table, Rachel was patiently waiting, folding a napkin into a little boat like she did with her young patients to make them smile. "You don't have to decide anything tonight," she said. "Just, let's finish this meal. One step at a time." They talked for 3 more hours. He told her about the time Emily tried to bake a cake for Noah's 3rd birthday and set off the smoke alarm. She told him about the letters she still wrote to her late husband and tucked into a shoebox. When the restaurant lights dimmed and the staff started stacking chairs, Matthew walked her to her car under a shared umbrella. Their hands brushed. Neither pulled away. But as he watched her drive off into the rainy night, waving one last time, the freeze came back full force. He sat in his truck for 20 minutes, forehead against the steering wheel, sobbing the kind of tears that shake your whole body. Because for the first time since Emily died, he wanted to see someone again. And that wanting terrified him more than anything. Back home, Noah was waiting up with Jake and Sarah, eyes bright with curiosity. "Did you have fun, Dad? Was she pretty?" The boy's innocent hope cracked Matthew's heart wide open. He pulled his son into his arms, breathing in the smell of strawberry shampoo and childhood. "Yeah, buddy," he whispered. "She was really pretty. But I don't know if I'm ready." Noah hugged him tighter. "Mom always said you were the bravest man she knew. I think she'd want you to try." That night, Matthew lay awake staring at the ceiling, Emily's photo on the nightstand smiling back at him. The date had been no joke. It had been the beginning of the hardest battle he'd ever fought, the battle to unfreeze his heart. The next few weeks were a roller coaster Matthew never saw coming. Rachel texted the morning after, "Thank you for last night. No pressure, but I'd love to do it again, maybe with less freezing." He laughed through tears and answered. Slowly, carefully, they built something fragile and beautiful. Coffee dates turned into walks in the park where Noah sometimes joined, shy at first, then chattering about dinosaurs and asking Rachel if she knew how to make chocolate chip cookies, as good as Mom's. She did, better, actually, and the 3 of them baked together one rainy Saturday, flour everywhere, Noah's laughter filling the kitchen like sunlight. But healing wasn't a straight line. There were nights Matthew cancelled plans at the last minute because grief ambushed him, standing in the grocery store, seeing Emily's favorite cereal and having to leave the cart behind. Rachel understood. She'd had her own ambushes. Once, during a movie night at her apartment, an old song came on and she excused herself to the balcony, crying quietly. Matthew followed, wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, and for the first time held her while she shook. "We don't have to be okay all the time," he told her. "We just have to be honest." The biggest challenge came 6 weeks in. Noah got sick with a bad flu, fever spiking to 104. Matthew was exhausted, juggling work and doctor visits, and old fears roared back. What if something happened to his son too? What if he wasn't enough? He pushed Rachel away, telling her over the phone that maybe this was too much, too soon. "I can't drag you into my mess," he said, voice raw. "You deserve someone who isn't carrying this much weight." Rachel didn't argue. She simply showed up at his door the next evening with homemade chicken soup, a coloring book for Noah, and zero expectations. She sat on the couch while Matthew rocked his sleeping son, and when the boy's fever finally broke around midnight, Rachel whispered, "See? You're not doing this alone anymore. Not if you let me stay." That was the turning point. Matthew realized love after loss wasn't about replacing Emily, it was about honoring her by living fully. He started therapy, something he'd avoided for years. He took Rachel to Emily's grave one quiet Sunday, introduced them in the gentlest way. This is Rachel. She makes me smile again. I think you'd like her." Tears fell, but they were healing tears. Noah began calling Rachel, Miss Rachel, and then just, Rach, like she'd always been part of the family. Months passed. Seasons changed. One crisp autumn evening, Matthew took Rachel back to Bella Vista, the same table, same rain tapping the window. This time he didn't freeze. He reached across, took her hand, and said the words that had been growing inside him, "I love you. Not instead of what I had, but because of it. You taught me that my heart is big enough for both." Rachel cried happy tears. "I love you too, Matthew. And I love Noah. I want to build a life with you both, if you'll have me." The proposal came on Noah's 9th birthday, in the backyard under string lights, with Jake and Sarah cheering from the sidelines. Matthew got down on one knee while Noah held up a sign that read, "Will you be my new mom?" Rachel said yes before the question was even finished, pulling them both into the biggest hug any of them had ever known. Today, if you drove past their little house in Ohio, you'd see a family, Matthew, Rachel, Noah, and soon a baby girl on the way, laughing in the driveway, kicking a soccer ball, the kind of ordinary joy that feels like a miracle after so much pain. Matthew still talks to Emily sometimes, still keeps her photo on the mantle. But now there are new photos beside it, wedding pictures, beach vacations, Noah's school plays. The freeze is gone. In its place is a quiet, steady warmth. And here's the truth I want you to carry with you, my friend, as you finish this story and step back into your own life. Whatever you've lost, whether it's a person, a dream, or a piece of yourself, you are not stuck forever. Freezing is just the pause before you remember how to move again. Second chances don't erase the past, they build on it, making you stronger, softer, more alive. Love is still out there, waiting, even when you think you're too broken to find it. So if you're watching this with tears in your eyes, if you're a single parent barely holding on, or anyone who's been afraid to hope, take that first scary step. Say yes to the blind date. Open the door when kindness knocks. Because somewhere, someone is waiting to help you thaw. You've got this. I'm rooting for you. And remember, you're never watching alone. Until next time, keep your heart open. The best chapters are still being written.